I tell you what, Lee, this Ty Gibbs, we've expected that he's going to win a race this year. The way he's running, it's going to come sooner rather than later. What's he have 5 straight top 10s now and a third-place finish last week?
And a 7.8 average finish, the best on the tour, right? And you're absolutely right. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The experience is there. He's getting plenty of sim time. He's got the right support staff around him. If he wants to rely on the experience of veteran teammates, he's got that. He's got everything going for him. All he has to do is be at the right place at the right time, and he's going to win. It's just, it's coming. Not sure whether it'll happen at Richmond or Martinsville. Martinsville has been a great track for Toyota. Richmond, I think between Denny and Martin, they've won 7 times at that track. So he could be the next guy to get that first-time win.
And, it certainly looked like he might be there at Bristol because he led more laps than anybody else. And, as you said earlier, the veterans sort of bided their time. Denny looked at him. Denny said after the race, I was waiting for him to get a little too aggressive and use his stuff up. And, yeah, that's what happened. But he has shown that he's got a fast car and he knows how to drive it. I mean, his qualifying efforts have been as good as his finishes, and he's currently second in points, only 5 points out of the lead. So, a win's coming, and it's coming soon.
And he's doing it on all the different types of tracks. I mean, look, he was outside pole at Coda, ran up front all day long, finishes third, and he's almost, we knew he would be talented coming out of the Xfinity Series. The question is, where was his head going to be? Because he was making people mad around him. And not to not to lessen what the young man has gone through since winning the Xfinity Championship. There's a lot of personal stuff there with losing his father the next day. And there's a lot there, but he has kind of reinvented himself on a personal level, and he's not going through irritating everybody now.
He's trying. He's making the effort. I asked somebody, what's the best way to approach him in post-race, because I, just trying to find a way to engage him. And they said, you have to think of him like Kyle Busch. And he's very much like Kyle Busch was at that age. And, I think they made a good point. He just, you would think because his grandfather is so diplomatic that some of that would rub off on him. And I think it will eventually. And maybe once that first win comes, he'll open up a little bit. But, it's coming. But when you talked about his record, and we've run it just about every kind of track at this point. And with the exception of Daytona, the first race out of the year, he's finished in the top 10 in every other kind of track. And so I think that, you just can't bet against him.
No. And as far as the personality goes, his first few years have brought a lot of criticism, honestly. And when you're that young, when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, that can sting. You get your back up, and you don't have experience dealing with the press. He has a lot more experience dealing with the race car than he does with us. And so, yeah. And sometimes that's a difficult thing as well. So, I think he'll grow and mature and certainly win races, and that'll help.
Yeah, and certainly he's knocking on the door, and he appears to be the next, as you said, Lee, I wouldn't be surprised if the next month we see him pick up a win because he's running that well right now.
Well, he wasn't going to give anything up to Christopher Bell on Sunday either. And that was, Reid, you talked about Formula One a little bit earlier. If that's a Formula One race, team orders are coming over, and
Bell's faster, let him go.
Yeah, Bell's faster. Exactly. And, Ty raced him because he knew even if Bell gets by him and if something happens between Bell and Byron, he wanted to be sitting there in the catbird seat, and he was. And, another podium finish, and you can't complain about what he's been able to do. And he's got a lot to prove. His name's on the door, and, it might be his grandfather's name, but it's his name too. And he has to, Yeah, it's easier for him because grandfather owns the company, but he still has to prove to people he belongs.
Yeah, he was hoping Bell was going to get the hat trick there after he got Larson and Kyle Busch.
Wow.
Maybe, maybe at the end there, William Byron.
His name
too.
wasn't Kyle.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there you go. Let's talk real quickly about Bell. Obviously Kyle Busch came up to him after the race. He was not happy with the way that C-Bell had raced him. C-Bell also had gotten into Kyle Larson earlier in the race. Lee C-Bell said, look, I hate that I got into Kyle Larson. That was not on purpose. I didn't get into him, didn't mean to. I feel bad about that. He said, Kyle Busch, on the other hand, made a move I didn't expect when he kind of cut back under me, and it was just a racing thing at that point. So, I don't know that Kyle Busch went away any happier,
No.
but C-Bell had an explanation for it.
Well, I think Kyle went a little wide in that turn, and Bell wasn't expecting it. And so when he came down, Bell wasn't expecting him to be there either. And I think it was a little more about anticipation than Christopher doing something nefarious.
Well, no, I don't think it was nefarious. I think he put himself in a bad place, though, because it was already too wide with Kyle Busch in turn one, and you would expect him to turn down beside that other car, anticipating the next corner. And so, Bell stuck his nose in there quite boldly. And so, it wasn't a surprise to me that Kyle Busch got turned around. The thing is, it could have hurt Bell's car too. And, that's just a place that I don't think you want to go under those circumstances in that corner.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to short tracks for the next couple of weeks. Some guys are mad at each other.
Could be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.